morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Honest Football Talk, where I, Thomas Swellen, give you guys my honest take on everything going on in the NFL world today. And I thought the best way to start this episode would be to give you guys a little bit of an apology. I know that I didn't upload last week. I had a lot of personal things going on in my personal life. Didn't have a lot of time to really break down some NFL news, but I'm back this week to break down everything that's been going on. And I thought, what better way to start off the news than to talk about Shaq Barrett from the Miami Dolphins. He was their former defensive end, was only there for about 4 months before deciding to retire this past Saturday on July 20th, 2024. According to, I think it's the BaltimoreSun.com, says it happened at 10:18 p.m. And very, very unexpected, honestly. When I first saw that Shaq Barrett signed with the Miami Dolphins, I thought this was a great signing for them. Definitely need some more help on the edge. I know that they had traded for Chubb, and they've gotten some production out of Chubb, but it hasn't been exactly what they wanted, especially for what they gave up for him. So I think it's very interesting to see that Shaq Barrett had just retired. I think this is very detrimental for the Miami Dolphins, a lot more detrimental than maybe a lot of people might think. I think that he was going to be a key piece on that defensive line, and that's been a struggle for Miami defensively. It's getting pressure on the quarterback, and I think it's going to be another issue for them going into this year. They did sign Emmanuel. Excuse me if I pronounce this incorrectly. Emmanuel Ogba. I apologize. I know that the Eagles were looking to sign him as well. He looks like he would be a great rotational piece. He played for the Dolphins last year, did very good when there was injuries occurred, and he got the chance to play. Put in some good minutes for them. Following their retirement of veteran linebacker Shaq Barrett this past weekend, the Miami Dolphins reportedly bolstered their pass rushing depth by bringing back a familiar face. Cameron Wolfe of NFL Network reported on Tuesday that the Dolphins are signing edge rusher Emmanuel Ogba, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, who spent the last 4 seasons in Miami. Adam Schefter added that Ogba will be receiving a 1-year deal worth $5 million. He appeared in 15 games for Miami in 2003 as a situational pass rusher and ranked 6th on the team with 5 sacks, while adding 20 total tackles, 2 pass defended, and an interception and a forced fumble. So, goes to show he did very good for the time that he came in for Miami and was a very great situational pass rusher for them. So, he might have a much more increased role, especially with Shaq Barrett not being there. Of course, Miami might bring in some other veterans to try out. There's still some great defensive ends out there on the market that I think Miami might try to go for, and who knows, might even have a trade in the future. I think Miami really needs to bolster that defensive line. They don't have a lot of pass rushing, so it would not surprise me one bit if Miami's in the market even later in the season trading for a pass rusher. So we'll see how that goes. And going from there, we'll go to my second story. The second story I got here is also another sad one. It seems like there's a lot of players wanting to retire here as training camp looms around the corner for a lot of these teams. And this next story talks about the Raiders' newest wide receiver, or was their newest wide receiver, Michael Gallup, as he just retired from the NFL only after playing for 6 seasons. Very interesting story to me with this one as well. Michael Gallup, he signed a 1-year contract worth as much as $3 million with the Las Vegas Raiders. He signed that on April 30th and was expected to compete for the team's number 3 wide receiver spot. And then he had just retired the day before the Raiders' first training camp practice, which is very interesting to me. Gallup, he did participate in the OTAs and minicamp for the Raiders this offseason, but day right before training camp starts, or the day before the first training camp practice, he decides to retire. Gallup is only 28 years old and brings it back to his knee injury that he suffered. I believe it was in 2021. Michael Gallup suffered this is the tear that it explains. I apologize if I pronounce this incorrectly, but anterior cruciate ligament in his left knee late in 2021. That ligament goes to show that it was very important for Michael Gallup's production, because he has not been the same since acquiring that injury. His first 3 seasons in the NFL were very great, putting up one of his best seasons in 2019 for 66 catches for 1,107 yards and 6 touchdowns. That was his best season in 2019, and then once he suffered his injury in late of 2021, completely fell off, it seemed. After his injury, Gallup caught 73 passes for 842 yards and 6 touchdowns and did not record a 100-yard game in the regular season in both 2022 and 2023. So, unfortunate injury really plagued Gallup in his production. You can tell that it really hurt his production going into the future with his knee injury, and all I can say is that's really unfortunate. The dude played really well. As an Eagles fan, didn't really like seeing him on Sundays playing for Dallas, but the dude was great slot receiver, knew how to run his routes, and didn't like going against him on Sundays. So it is sad to see him go because he was a talented player, and hate seeing the talent in the NFL, get crushed by injuries like that. It's not fair to the player, and it's unfortunate that it went down that way, but. Wishing the best for Gallup going forward. He got some good money from Dallas before the injury kicked in, so hopefully he used that money wisely, and he'll be good for his future. But yeah, going on from that story, one that's a little bit more positive. I think this one's very interesting. We got the Vikings offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw agrees to terms on a 4-year, $113 million contract extension. Crazy numbers here, but good for the tackle here. Especially for the Vikings. The Vikings and Christian Darrisaw have agreed to terms on a 4-year contract extension, as NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport reported on Tuesday. The extension is worth a maximum of $113 million with $77 million guaranteed. Pretty good. Darrisaw's contract comes well before he's due for a new deal. Minnesota exercised his 5th-year option he was the 23rd overall pick in 2021 draft during the 2024 offseason. This is when they decided to go with this deal. Buying the team security through the end of 2025 season. And I'm one of those guys that I think it's very important to sign your guys early. I mean, being an Eagles fan, that's exactly how Howie Roseman does everything. He gets his players as soon as, a contract extension is basically available for the players. You want to set the market as these GMs and players as well. Like they want to make sure that they're setting the market and getting these deals done as soon as possible, so that before the price tag continues to rise and these teams have to pay a lot more. Great example of that right now, you can see with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown really didn't need an extension. He probably would have played out his contract this year, but Eagles were smart to go ahead and extend him, secure him for another year or so, and on top of that, give him some money that he deserves. And then when you look at C.D. Lamb, who's been, asking for money from the Dallas Cowboys, he's still in limbo right now looking for money, and it's mostly because Jerry Jones doesn't want to pay like $30 million for a wide receiver. But had he had come into contract negotiations a lot sooner, maybe they would already have C.D. Lamb signed and for a much more reasonable price tag for the Cowboys to handle. But it's not looking that way for them. It's looking like they're going to have to end up paying very premium for C.D. Lamb, and they're just going to have to hope that it all works out for him this year, especially with the big price tag that they got on Dak Prescott. I think that's a big reason why they haven't made a lot of offseason moves, and I think it's going to show for this team. We'll see going forward how good the Dallas Cowboys are going to be handling all this outside noise. They've always been a team that's had to deal with outside noise. That's just, for whatever reason, in the Cowboys' nature. They get a lot of media press, so we'll see how they handle it. I know I'm very curious to see. NFC East has always been up in the air every year, so is it going to be Dallas again? Are they going to be the first team to repeat as division champs? Personally, sincerely doubt it. With all the drama that's been going on this past offseason with the Cowboys, I just don't see it happening, especially the way they exited the playoffs last year against the Packers. So we will see. That is something to come for the Dallas Cowboys. But going back to Darrisaw, the main story here for the Vikings, I think it's very smart of them, again, to secure their O-line, get him signed early. Might seem like big money for the O-lineman, but hey, they're what protect your quarterback. The trenches is where it matters the most, in my opinion. So signing your offensive lineman and making sure you got a stable offensive line that's going to protect your quarterback is one of the most important things to do for a team. So good on the Vikings, and look forward to seeing how they continue to do without Kirk Cousins. See if J.J. McCarthy's going to end up getting in there sometime this season, or if Sam Darnold is going to end up leading the charge the whole year. We'll find out. But yeah, going on from there leads us into our next story here that I think is also very interesting. We got quarterback Matthew Stafford reaches a new contract adjustment with the Rams. I was kind of oblivious to this till I heard it on ESPN. I heard Pat McAfee talking about this a little bit with some of his guests, and rose my eyebrow, decided to look into it a little bit more. And this comes from FoxSports.com, the story that I read on with Matthew Stafford. I understand that Matthew Stafford definitely deserves a lot more like recognition than what he probably gets in the NFL. He was a little bit hurt last year, so you didn't hear as much. The whole Rams team was like kind of, I don't know, with Cooper Kupp and stuff, and it just wasn't. They weren't at their I'd say, of course, like their Super Bowl level that they were a few years ago. So they were kind of off the radar this year. Didn't hear too much about the Los Angeles Rams, but Matthew Stafford does make it back into the media or back into the news today with his contract adjustment, and talks about how they're working on behind the scenes to make Matthew Stafford happy, which in turn, of course, which in turn helps a team that the NFL observes expect to compete for another postseason berth. So definitely a lot of people looking into this, seeing, if the Rams are going to be able to make it back to the playoffs, and they definitely are going to need Matthew Stafford. Personally, I don't think they're going to be able to do it with who's it? Stetson Bennett is one of their backups now. Not too experienced, coming out of Georgia, hasn't been in the league that long. I think they're definitely going to need Matthew Stafford for him to stay healthy for the Rams to compete. So definitely makes sense for them to reach a new contract extension with him. When he finally emerged, this is coming from Sean McVay. Sean McVay confirmed that the Rams brass had worked with Stafford's agent, Jimmy Sexton, and the two sides came to an agreement on a contract adjustment for the 36-year-old single caller. Stafford has a three years remaining on his 4-year, $160 million contract, none of which is guaranteed beyond this season, which is very important to point out. Stafford's $40 million average annual salary ranks 14 in the league, and then Stafford's desire to sweeten his contract, makes sense. He wanted to, according to reports, Stafford wanted more guaranteed money added to his deal. So, it makes sense that if he didn't have any guarantees after this year, he wanted to make sure that he was secure for his future before he kept playing. So, it makes sense that he wanted to have this contract adjustment. I just thought it was interesting that it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind for a while until it finally actually, the extension actually came to fruition. Actually, having Rams brass and Matthew Stafford, everyone come into agreement. Now it's become news for the media, and I think it's very important to keep track of, because I think that there was a few years ago, even after Matthew Stafford won the Super Bowl, if he was just going to retire after that year. So Matthew Stafford's on watch for that type of behavior. We'll see if he's going to decide to retire in the near future. Personally, I don't see it. I see this Rams being able to compete again, especially with Sean McVay. He's a great head coach. I see probably even just this year they're going to compete in the postseason. Even a year after that, I still think they have a chance to compete. They got great offensive weapons now with Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp's still elite in my opinion. So I think they got a chance. I know it's going to be a lot more difficult with Aaron Donald not there in the center for him on their defensive line, but I think that the Rams definitely have the coaching talent and the personnel to make up for any sort of missing pieces that might have left in this offseason. So curious to see how the Rams do now with Matthew Stafford's new contract. Think he'll be good to go for this year, and we'll see how it goes. And going on from there, I thought this was a really interesting story that I wanted to touch up on. Like I said, this is like the off-season, not a lot of crazy stuff going on, but there are a couple stories that definitely catch my eye that I want to keep paying attention to and seeing how things develop. This is one that I saw floating around. This is on ESPN. Kyle Shanahan had talked to Bill Belichick and apparently had offered him a defensive coordinator position with the 49ers. But, of course, Bill Belichick had declined that position. Kyle Shanahan talks about how he can't believe that Bill Belichick hasn't, been or isn't a NFL head coach right now, considering how much knowledge and how much prestige he basically has in the NFL and everything he's accomplished. You think for sure Bill Belichick would at least have another chance at a head coaching job outside of the Patriots and given another chance to rebuild a organization. You would think, especially with his prestige and everything, but I get people want to move away from like the older, I guess, days of football and go to a more newer, younger mentality. I guess that's the ideas of these owners. That's the only thing that could really make sense to me, because Bill Belichick has more qualifications than any sort of head coach that's available out there. I was mind blown that he wasn't picked up. I thought when the Eagles were discussing between Nick Sirianni if they were going to fire him or not, if Bill Belichick, I would be like, yes, and in a heartbeat, I would take Bill Belichick over Nick Sirianni. I'm sorry. Love Nick, what he's done for the Eagles, but when you look at Bill Belichick, the guy's got such a great proven track record, you have to respect it. It might not be the most fun time for a lot of the players, but it's not about fun. It's about winning. It's about getting to a championship level, and Bill Belichick really knows how to build that. He had a dynasty with the Patriots. The guy knows what he's doing, so it blows my mind that he does not have a head coaching job this year. I got a great feeling that he will definitely have one next year, especially I think he's going to do amazing here. I think he's working with around the NFL. Don't quote me exactly on that, but I know he's going to be working with the NFL during the season, and will definitely be giving his intake, through the media, and everyone's going to see just how great of a mind he is. He's already shown it a good bit, like when Pat McAfee show, when he was helping Pat McAfee host a draft, the NFL draft. You could really see just how much Bill Belichick knew, prepping for draft positions, putting players on their big board. Bill Belichick knows a lot. I mean, he worked as the GM for the Patriots as well as being the head coach, so the guy knows a lot of the ins and outs of an NFL locker room, and I can't believe, literally just can't believe that he was not signed as a head coach this past year. Like, so many teams could have used him. Like, I know that Atlanta's definitely going to regret not hiring Bill Belichick as their head coach, and probably wouldn't have went quarterback in the first round had Bill been there, but that's neither here nor there. I just want to say that I think Bill Belichick's still one of the best in the business as a head coach. Dude definitely deserves to be a head coach in the NFL, and like I said, blows my mind that he's not right now. But I'm sure that's all going to change next year. They say on average, I think it's like 6 NFL head coaching positions open each year, so I know for sure there'll be at least 1 or 2 that he will definitely have an opportunity to get. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, coming here towards the end of the show here today. Hope everyone's enjoyed the stories we've been covering. Like I said, know that we're right there on the cups of getting into the preseason. We're right here at the very beginning of the season now. We got NFL training camp on the way, so hopefully there'll be a little bit more news next week too, as more drama is going to start building in these facilities as players come in and actually start practicing and getting to know one another more and getting the feel for the actual playbook and things of that nature. It's going to get good here. we're right here on the brink of the season actually opening up and giving us some great content to cover. But to end this episode, I thought we'd go over the saddest news that I'd received recently. We'll talk about the good old Eagles legend Brandon Graham announcing that this year, 2024 NFL season, will be his last. Very sad, personally, for me to hear this, that Brandon Graham is going to be retiring. Dude is an absolute legend with the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. This article comes from sportingnews.com, where they talk about that this is Brandon Graham's last tour. The tour will be the last, though, for the Eagles legend. Star defensive end Brandon Graham confirmed to reporters that 2024 will be his last season in the NFL. Graham was drafted in the first round by the Eagles in 2010. He has been a focal point of their defense ever since. He made the Pro Bowl in 2020 and helped the Eagles win Super Bowl 52 against the New England Patriots. It was the first Super Bowl victory in franchise history. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for those memories, Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham had a great game as well in the Super Bowl. I just remember everything that leads up leads up to such a great player being such a legendary part of the Eagles organization. Like, he does so much in the community. You hear how much of a great guy he is on and off the field. Like, the dude is just amazing all around. Great role model to look up to, and I greatly appreciate all of his service for the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, Brandon Graham enters this final season with 73 sacks, which is 4th all-time in Eagles history. Who knows? Could move up there. Could move up to 3rd by the end of the season. Hopefully he has a great year, over 10 or so sacks. Love to see him get over double-digit sacks again. And yeah, I've always liked Brandon Graham. He's always been a great focal point for our defense. Yeah, as long as he can stay healthy this year, I think he's going to be another big piece. And it's going to be sad seeing him go after this year, but I'm excited to get to watch him these last few games, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to the promised land one more time and finish him out on a nice Super Bowl run. That's the dream, of course, but all that's to come. We got a whole season to play here, and excited to see how it plays out. But yeah, I think that's all the news that I have for today. We've covered everything that I got on my dock here, so greatly appreciate everyone for tuning in. We'll try to be back, of course, again next week, same time, every Thursday. Try to get an upload up, and we'll cover what's to go on in the NFL. So yeah, guys, greatly appreciate everyone tuning in. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you can. And yeah, this is Honest Football Talk. This is Thomas Well, and I'm signing out, guys. Peace. Have a good one. Take care.